Hello and welcome to our lesson on the order of operations. The official math name for what we're going to do today is called the order of operations. However, if you've experienced it before, you may have referred to it as PEMDAS. And PEMDAS stands for, and this also the saying, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, stands for the order in which we do operations. So let's read what it says here. When simplifying numeric expressions, which means all numbers, numeric, all numbers, we use the order of operations to guide us through each step. The order of operations is a set of rules that mathematicians agree to use so that we can find one answer instead of multiple or many answers. We use a strategy often referred to as PEMDAS to help us remember the order. P for parentheses, E for exponents, M for multiplication, D for division, A for addition, and S for subtraction. So let's briefly go through those. Today, we're going to focus our attention on just multiplying, dividing, adding, and subtracting, but I do want you to see what the full order of operations is. We must do anything inside parentheses first. And here's a normal set of parentheses. Sometimes we have them nested inside brackets, and they have the squared off edges, and sometimes those are nested inside braces. And the more complex our numeric expression is, the more of these we may use. However, here's one that you've already run into called the absolute value bars. So we have to do whatever's inside here, whatever operation is inside here first. If there's just one number, then we go ahead and find out what the absolute value is. Oftentimes parentheses are used for other things. For instance, we can use it just to signify that, hey, this number is negative, or we might use it for multiplication as we just learned. So today we're not going to be dealing with any of these. Next, the second thing we do when we're given a numeric expression, if they're exponents, then we have to evaluate them. And so evaluate means find the value of. This is read as 6 raised to the second power, or we could say 6 squared, and it means 6 times 6. So we would evaluate this and call it 36. This means 2 to the third power, also referred to as 2 cubed, and it means 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. And this is the inverse of an exponent. It's the square root of 25, and our answer would be 5. We could square 5 to get 25, or we could raise 5 to the second power to get 25. And this is a whole other thing that we're going to delve into later on in the year. So now let's look at what is third. Multiplication and division, multiply or divide, that's what we do first after we've done these other things, which again we're not going to deal with today. We multiply or divide from left to right as we read it. And this is very important. Multiplication is not more important than division. It's just whatever we see first in the problem as we read through the problem from left to right. So we complete all multiplication and all division before we can go on to adding and subtracting. When we add or subtract, we do it from left to right as we read the problem. Again, addition is not more important than subtraction. They're both equals. So we do whatever we see first as we read the problem from left to right. So let's get started. Use PEMDAS to simplify these expressions. Circle each operation and show each step one at a time. Then drop down each term that wasn't used and rewrite the problem as you complete each step. And each term, it means each number, we're going to drop down what we didn't use along with an operation that we didn't use. You're going to notice there's a work area. We never want to show our work within the problem. We just want to drop down the results or the remaining, or the leftover numbers rather. So this is our work area. And if you'll recall, we're only going to work with multiplication and division and adding and subtracting. So we're going to look for any multiplication or division, whichever comes first in the problem. So as I read this, I see division is first. So It's before multiplication and it's before adding. But I have to do all multiplication and division before I can get to adding. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Would you please circle 48 divided by 4? Now, you can use your calculator if you have this, and if you don't have this, you can go ahead and write 48 divided by 4. What is the answer to 48 divided by 4? The answer is 12. And now we're going to drop down everything we haven't used so far. We haven't used the plus, the 2, the times, or the 6. And now we're going to start this problem all over again. We are still looking to see if we have any multiplication or division. What do you think we should circle? If you said 2 times 6, you're correct. We looked for the operation and we circled the number in front of it and the number behind it. What is the answer? The answer to 2 times 6 is 12, but here's what's very important. We have to write things down in order. This 12 came first, then our plus sign, and now our new answer, which is 12, happens to be 12 also, has to be exactly in the same spot it is. We can't move it in front, so we have to put it exactly where it is in order of the problem. So now we have to check to see if we have any multiplication or division. What do you think we should do next? If you said add 12 plus 12, you're correct. In fact, that happens to be the only thing that's left, but we're done with all of our multiplication, all of our division, and so this makes sense as the final step. What is the final answer? The final answer is 12. And briefly, let's just look at what would have happened had we not used the order. Say we decided we wanted to add 4 plus 2 first. Well, if we did that, then we'd have 48 divided by 6, which would have been 8. And then 8 times 6 would have been 48, completely different answer. So we have to agree on the set of rules so that we will always get the same answer at the end. Let's go on to the next problem, please. Okay, according to the order of operations, what operation must we do first in this problem? If you answered multiplication, you are correct. We must do multiplication or division, whichever we see first in the problem. So 4 times 3 is 12. Now you're going to notice behind the problem, it says divided by 2. So we want to drop that down. And in front of the problem, we have a minus and we have a -8. So whatever we do must stay in exactly the same place as where it was in the problem. The answer has to be located the same place. What is the next operation we should do? If you said 12 divided by 2, you are correct, because once again, we have to do multiplication or division, whatever we see in the problem, before we can go on to adding and subtracting. So the answer is 6. So I'm going to drop down the -8 and the minus that's in front of it. And now we're left with just adding or subtracting, and we can see that it's subtracting. So when we do this kind of problem, where I have -8 minus 6, what did we learn is a good strategy when we see a minus sign? If you said add a line, change the sign, or KCC, you're correct. Basically, we want to change the minus sign, but this is very important. We have to change the number behind it. And now we're using our adding same sign integers together rule, and the final answer is what? If you said the final answer is -14, you are correct. Would you please try the next problems now on your own, and as you go through the questions, make corrections if needed. So remember, we're going to start with multiplication and division, then go on to any adding or subtracting. And the numbers must drop down in the order that they're given. How do you think we should start this problem? What do you think we should do next? Order of operations would tell us to add these two first. So when we are working with a problem that has all addition, there's another rule in math called the commutative property that says we can move things around. But since we're using order of operations, we should do -5 plus 9 first. They're different signs. What is the answer? If you said +4, you are correct. The final answer to this problem is 11. Let's go to the next problem. What should we do first in this particular problem? Multiplication. Since we see it first, since we're working with a negative times a positive, the answer is going to be -27. What should we do second? We have division, and we're going to leave that minus sign out front because it's not a negative, it's a minus. And so we're working with 45 divided by 5, which is 9. It stays at the end of the problem, and everything in front drops down. What is the final answer for this problem? We were given subtraction, and in order, if we are not working with a calculator to make this a little bit more comfortable, we want to use our KCC, and now we have -27 plus -9. They're same signs, and the final answer is -36. Thank you for completing this lesson.